everybody. What is shaking? What's going on? Yes, it is time for another Three Guys Before the Game. We told you earlier this week we would be back for a Thursday show. As far as next week goes, what's that word they use? Hiatus? Is that what they say, Senator? Is that what they call it? Yeah. Here we go, buddy. Episode 537, and look who we have here. We got ourselves a special guest. He was just wandering around the lobby. We said, hey, would you mind just sitting in with us? The head football coach of your West Virginia Mountaineers, Neal Brown, is our special guest. Three Guys Before the Game brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. And go get that rewards card where you can save on fuel, your food. Right now, spring coming, trout start to run. You can get yourself one of those fly rod Slim Jims that they have, about 11, 12 feet long Slim Jim. It's unbelievable. 16-pound Reese cup, 13-pound bag of pork rinds. It's all there waiting for you.
Unconfirmed sizes.
They don't have those yet?
I don't think.
We'll bring a scale. Three Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. You ask Neal what he likes to do. He's a pontoon guy. He knows. He visits. I don't know if he has, but maybe he will someday. LouWendellMarineSales.com.
Neal's a boat guy. He's a fan of boats.
You're a boat guy?
Yeah.
I have a boat.
Yeah, see?
I wouldn't quite go that I'm a boat guy. I'm a learning. I'm an in-progress
You're an in progress boat guy?
You got a boat, you're a boat guy.
He's in. He's been on. He's got a boat. He's a boat guy. You got a boat, you're a boat guy.
Like the guys at Lou Wendell. They're not just selling it. They're boat guys. They got boats.
Neal, you might not realize, but I don't know. You a big James Bond guy?
I do enjoy James
All
Bond.
the James Bond movies, whenever you see James Bond, this is going back to Sean Connery, and he's in a pontoon, came from Lou Wendell Marine Sales. People don't know that.
Unconfirmed.
West Virginia connection. Three Guys also brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. 'Tis that time of the season for taxation, financing, and all that kind of stuff. And they're the folks. All right, so here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to do a quick little bit on hoopage from last night and one more regular season game to go. And then we're going to talk about Mountaineer football because as we record, I think we're 18 days away from the start of spring ball. 25, first time you go on the field?
March 25th.
All right, cool. Goes by quick, doesn't it?
It happens fast. It happens fast.
What is your line that you use? You say like, what is
Days are long, but the years are fast.
That's true.
You say that about kids. That's as true a statement as I think has ever been uttered.
Days are
Right
long.
there.
It does happen. Like I just had all my birthdays, which I don't know if our fans really catch on, but I've got a birthday on February 15th, February 16th, and February 18th.
I never knew that.
Yeah, the birthday week.
How do you guys do that?
It's very scheduled of you.
It's very scheduled. Yeah, it's very organized.
So how do the parties go?
No, each their own. We're more into experiences than parties, Tony.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but no, each day is their own, and so the 15th, the 16th, and the 18th.
They have to go to school?
Huh?
They have to go to school that day?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
That's some incredible precision for an inexact process. I mean, I don't want to go too far off the rails. That's incredible precision in scheduling.
Yeah, it's well scheduled. So you got Valentine's Day and then right through it, and so, but going back to the reason we're talking about this, is
please,
but it happened. I've got a 16-year-old, and I'm like, wow. That happened really fast,
dude. And then, as you said,
but then dealing with her on a daily basis, that is really long.
Well, I can kind of walk you through it. It cycles. She'll be back. she'll come back around.
She told me on the way to school the other day, something. You were right about that, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh.
I'm like, are we admitting?
Oh, it's coming. It's all going to come back. It will all come back to you. But right now, you kind of look at them like Martian children at times, right? Like, who are you?
And they think I know nothing.
Sure, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I know.
No, you know.
About anything.
Yeah. How old are you now?
I've got a birthday on Monday.
Okay.
44.
Jerry West. That's always a West Virginia connection. He'll be 40. That'll be an easy one. All right, so send your cards, letters, chocolates to the football complex. Neal will be accepting.
We're on spring break. We're on spring break. Office shut down. Lori may be there.
She'll be there.
Yeah, she'll be. She's always there.
So all we've learned through 7 years of doing this show, all we have to do is ask for stuff, and people send stuff. It's pretty amazing. Like, we'll do this later, but grab the one. We received a perishable package today from AJ. Yeah,
This?
AJ in PA. He claims that company invented that chocolate peanut butter cup before Reese's did. It's called a Melt-Away. It's like famous.
Huh.
And so we're going to give you one of those.
They just didn't market it fast.
They didn't market it fast enough. They own the mountain. And we'll give you one of those on your way out. You eat much sweet stuff? I don't see you eating sweet stuff.
You know, average amount. Kind of go like during birthday palooza there. You know, you have cake and you know you're indulging a little more.
Yeah, I completely get it. All
We're
right.
loaded up over here. We got a big bag of M&Ms too.
Yeah,
Did you
I
see
got
those?
and the gentleman that gave me came over to the Coliseum last night before we started the game. He said, "Here, I want you to have these. Smack those down," which is pretty neat. All right, let's do a little basketball. Then we're going to jump into football. But first, we got to do this. This is our spreads on stats segment. You know, number boy over there.
I listened to the game last night. I heard all his. You know, the stat that jumped out to me is we win games when we have over 57% of our points have assists, right?
There it is.
I was listening.
Thank you.
I was paying
Or
attention.
last night, the free throw rate. We have to hit 43%. 44% free throw rate. Last night, it was like 177% free throw rate.
Which we'll get to here coming in
Yeah.
just a second.
Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, complete service public accounting and consultation. They serve clients throughout the state of West Virginia, surrounding states. Since 1985, they do present you much more than value and much more value beyond the numbers, priding themselves in giving you more. Basically, as I say, they're like the shepherds in the field that walk with you step by step if you're a business owner, to give you the best insight as to how to handle your business and pay your fair share of tax, but don't pay too much. They provide audit and assurance, tax planning and preparation, consulting and advisory, and they can also outsource your accounting and CFO services. It's the Conley CPA Group. All right, last night was a number palooza, in my opinion. There were some aberrations to the numbers.
There was, and let's just kind of dive right in here. That it's one of those games where you lose by double figures, but you look up, Tony. I still walked away from that game, thought about this morning. That's a very winnable game. West Virginia is right there, even with the hot start from TCU. And it comes down to let's jump to the positive first. That second half that West Virginia had, shot 67% from the floor.
Stupid.
Free throw rate. How much have we talked about free throw rate this year? Get to 44% or above, and that's a win for West Virginia every time. Last night in the second half, it was a 110% free throw rate. I don't know that I remember that. It may have happened. I don't recall that. 23 free throw attempts, 21 field goal attempts. But that's also where the game fell apart, right? You just couldn't convert those free throws. You did it exactly what you wanted to do, get to the line, you just couldn't convert the free throws. The other part, as Neal just mentioned, how about a 79% assist rate in the second half? Which makes sense, right? They were moving the ball, the pick and roll, dropping it down into Edwards. The offense was really flowing there in the second half. Total game, it fell just below the mark you need. 57% is the win mark for West Virginia. It came in about 55%. So second half was there. TCU's hot start, making those threes early, uncharacteristic how many they took. They made them. They eventually cooled off, but it was too much to overcome.
You're a numbers guy, Neal. Let us know from a football perspective, what through the years have you grown to say, those are my numbers? When you take a look at the stat sheet for the first time at the end of a game, your eye goes where?
So starts with turnover margin, but more importantly, points off turnovers. The second thing, explosive plays. You know, those two things, I think, the biggest indicators of wins and losses.
Mm-hmm. You're getting your explosive play counter is getting higher than it has been.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's going to the run-based offense. That was really the point. Is we're going to run the football, but it's also going to give us an opportunity to bring people into the box so we can throw over top of them. You know, we were one of the top offenses in the country last year with explosive plays.
Which a huge difference. Like,
absolutely. It's
you
like,
couldn't like an your first couple of years, about 13 yards. That's an explosive play.
Struggle.
Took care of that.
Recruiting plays a role too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, recruiting plays a role too.
Is the reverse also true when you look at the opposing team? Are those the two you're looking at for that?
Yeah, that's exactly. Those are things that we're really, and just from a stats standpoint, since Brad's on here, is we talk about three things, and it's 3 E's. We talk about efficiency, and those are first down, the first play of a drive, which we call P&10. It's red zone efficiency, and it's third down efficiency. So we talk about efficiency, we talk about explosives, and we talk about errors. And we talk about errors, those are self-induced penalties, turnovers, etc. So that's how we take all those stats and just put it in those 3 E's.
3 E's.
Like the 3 guys.
Would you be adverse if we maybe like made a T-shirt on episode800.com just said EEE?
That's right, 3 E's.
Go like EEE, and then underneath it we'll just put success.
No doubt. It's kind of like me. I didn't. I'd be like the peanut butter and chocolate company. I didn't brand it.
First guy.
Yeah, you guys branded it.
And we've been known to take a thing or two. All right. Before we jump into football, basketball's almost done. You've seen it from your standpoint. You know how crazy it has been. What's your takeaway?
Well, I'm a basketball fan, and both of you guys know that. This is one of my favorite times of the year, just because I enjoy the basketball aspect. I enjoy the competition. I like the March Madness, just being in a tournament where you got a chance to win and winners advance. It's kind of survive and advance. We recruit a lot of basketball guys. You know, the times of the year when I can go out recruiting in January and December, you see a lot of basketball games. So we use the basketball to evaluate. And I grew up playing. You know, I thought I was going to be the next Rex Chapman until I quit growing at about 5'10" and a half. You know,
probably put a stop to that. Yeah.
But I really appreciate basketball. So I watch it from a fan standpoint. And during December and January, when I go to the games, and I try to go to all the home games, but when I go, I'm actually working. And then we get into February and March, and I go to the games. I'm able to watch, and so I follow the team. I watch all the games. I'm either there, I watch the games, and I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is Josh Eilert is a true Mountaineer, and I really I was excited for him to when he got started, and man, just so proud of how he's handled adversity. And when I think about Mountaineers or you know, West Virginians just in general, like one of the first things that comes to my mind is tough. And you talk about an individual who's really symbolized that from the time that he was placed in charge of the basketball program. It's been Josh Eilert. And not just Josh, but Josh and Brandy and their 3 kids. You know, adverse circumstances. I don't know if you can be put in a more difficult position. And getting the job late, and then your roster being in flux, you know, all the way through the start of school. And because everybody says, well, basketball is year to year. Well, that's accurate, but most of these teams are put together and they start sometime in May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, ours really wasn't until school had started. And then dealing with the injuries, and then just it's hard when things snowball and things are negative. And he has been just so resilient and so tough. And just watching it as a fan, you know, I think the one thing that's really kind of gone under the radar is like we've been really efficient offensively. And those are some stats that Brad was talking about. I just watch, you know, think about this. You know, I think from basketball, one of the things that I pay attention to, just because I'm looking at through a coach's lens, is like we've been good out of timeouts, like offensively. And that's what I think Josh has really done a really nice job from an offensive standpoint. And I was fortunate to go to a shoot around a couple weeks ago, and those guys believe in him. And I hate that the year's gone the way it's gone. But for somebody that's put in as many years, was it
17 for him, 17.
Yeah, 17 years. I hope our fans and supporters of our men's basketball program really appreciate what he's done, because he's had to take it on the chin a lot this year, and man, he's answered the bell every single time. And I hope that, man, our guys compete. And I don't know what the result's going to be, but man, I hope our guys really, really compete when they go to Kansas City.
Yeah, I think it's well said. And I think you know this because you've been in the business long enough. Sometimes it's the painful learning processes that will help him down the road, right?
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing too, like, I think I might even told Josh, like, there's no preparation for being a head coach, you know, like in and you think you know what it's going to be like. You think your day to day, you know what it's going to be like, but until you're in that seat, you don't know. And most people, like, no different. When I got my first head coaching job, I got it on December 1st. I didn't play a game until the end of August. So there's about 10 months where you're kind of figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he got the job, I think less than 3 months, they're playing. And that's a really difficult transition. And I'm very thankful for that my first job was at the group of 5 level, because like I made a bunch of mistakes. I made a bunch of mistakes my first couple of years here, and you learn, right? And you're able to grow. And it's just a tough transition, but I'll say this, man, and I believe this is when you want to talk about the epitome of toughness, like Josh Eiler and Brandy and those kids, they've been tough, and they've answered it all season long. So, I say that. I appreciate what he's done.
Yeah. He refused from day one to play the role of a victim. He said, I'm not going to play the role of a victim. He didn't point fingers at –
Hasn't made one excuse.
No, not at players.
Not once.
Hasn't pointed a finger at a player once the entire year. Hasn't pointed a finger at schedule or anything. He just said, all right, here we go.
He hasn't talked about injuries. He hasn't, in our fan base, like he deserves to be, he should be well thought of because he's really stood and he's taught a lot of life lessons, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well said. Perfectly said, actually.
I agree with you. All right, let's jump into football. I don't know if you know this or not, but you were in the news this week.
That's what I heard.
You heard that.
Yeah.
So,
good thing I was off the grid for a little while. I was actually down in Summersville and didn't have great phone service.
Nah, you missed a little cell down there. you get into some of the nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
Now, 19, you're probably fine. But you go down there a little bit. I mean, you get away a little bit. What was your goal in the contract talks? What were you trying to accomplish?
Well, it wasn't that I was necessarily trying to accomplish. We've got really good momentum going, and I think the goal of everybody involved was to continue the momentum. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about what our future looks like here. Myself individually, but more importantly, our program. Talked about my kids earlier and Brooke, like really happy right here in Morgantown. And it's been a great spot to raise our 3 kids. They're at an age where transition's not something we're interested in. And it's close to both our families, and that really hit home. Brooke's grandmother passed away back in early February, and found out late on a Thursday night, and she's home mid-morning on Friday, and so when things like that happen, being in close proximity really drives that home. And so, and just create some stability for the program, not necessarily for myself, but for our program. It was big. I really believe this, and I was really raised this way, as I think it's important for you to have skin in the game. The only quote that we really have in our kind of our coaching wing is on leadership, and it's from Warren Buffett, and it says people do what people see. And I think it was important for me that have some skin in the game, because I think it says the right things. And then, our assistants and our assistant coaches and our support staff we got a big organization. You're in our building a good bit, so I think you have an appreciation for that. Whether people outside understand it in full scope, I'm not sure, but we've got a lot of people that make this organization go, and I wanted to make sure that they got rewarded, and so did Ren. And so I'm just really thankful that we were able to get this thing done. I'm thankful for our board and Dr. Gee and Ren for getting it together.
When you look at it as far as the portion where you want to give back into the program, what will this allow you to do? What are the things that you want to do to your staff?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is right now, as important as anything that we have, is retention. And so when we talk about retention, you have to lead with the trust, right? I think that's the number one, ingredient to keeping players on your roster, the ones that are really important. They're all important, but the ones that are really critical to your success,
right,
is them being able to earn, name, image, likeness, and our trust has come really a long way. And I credit the leadership Ken Kendrick, Oliver Luck, the board they put together, Stephen Ford, who runs it on a daily basis. It's been a growing process, but we feel really positive about the momentum we have going there. And so the trust allows us to retain. And then the second thing is we talk about experience. And that's and so when I talk about experience, our support leads really help create that experience. And for us in our support areas, we're trying to be a differentiator. And so we've made the choice and with the support of the administration, is one of the differentiators for us is our support areas, and it's nutrition. Like, we've got 2 full-time nutritionists now. We've got a whole team of interns. We got a chef that works with football. It goes to strength conditioning, not only Mike and his staff, but what we've done from a sports science and recovery. We've really been able to differentiate ourselves. We have a sports psychologist that's in the building every day now. That's a huge step, not only helping with sports, but mental health. Athletic training. We've got some great people there. We've got all the technologies you can possibly have. And so you talk about retention and, all right, experience. I mean, we talk about retention, you talk about trust in the experience, and the leads in those areas are so important. And so
that's not even mentioned fifth quarter.
Yeah. And fifth quarter in academics, and so when you talk about academics, what we've been able to do there is, it doesn't get talked about a lot because some of the focus on academics is kind of lost now. And I do understand it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it. We've graduated 100% of our guys. And our fifth quarter program that John Chambers has made possible is really, it's really grown. It's created opportunities, again, differentiate ourselves from the people that we're competing against. And so, I think as we got going in after the season and talking to Ren, and Steve Urias was critical in this as well, is, how do we continue the momentum? How do we continue making sure that the experience that our players are having is really second to none?
Mm-hmm. And so when you have those recruits come in, that's your selling point now, where you didn't have all of those items when you first got here.
Yeah.
Now you can say, okay, this is how we're going to take care of you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It looks like it paid results.
Yeah, and that's what now we can tell stories of not only the team but also the individuals. And so, and really for just big picture view, is I would love for this to be a launching point. I would love for West Virginia football to be a launching point. Like just on the football side, I want position coaches to be coordinators to be head coaches. And no different in our support leads. I'd love for our assistant strength coaches to go be head strength coaches. I'd love for our assistant athletic trainers to be head athletic trainers,
Sure.
And to do that, okay, you got to have salaries where you can, when you are a launching point, you've got to be able to attract those people, right? If you lose an assistant, you got to be able to pay well enough to go hire an equal, right? And so that's something that, and I think really probably the older I get, the more I really feel like a strong pull to do that, to make this an opportunity, because some people are going to move. Now, I never want to move laterally. I think, and we've been very fortunate. We've had very few people that have done that, but we want people to launch from our football program and be equipped and then launch them. And I think that, we've been able to do that, and we want to continue to do that.
Let's stay on staff for a second, and nutrition's the one thing, and the strength and conditioning. Let's talk the analyst part of things, because I think a lot of us talk about analysts. We hear about that. We've had Drew in that chair many times, talked about the personnel departments. Those continue to really grow. Is that an area that's still continuing to grow? Is it starting to level off? What's the next wave of X and O football support that's coming?
Well, I think everybody's kind of wait and see. And what I mean by that, what is the next step? What does college athletics look like 2 years from now? What does it look like 5 years from now? And I'm not sure that anybody would sit in this chair and give you a really clear vision, of where
right.
we're going. So I think some of the staff, from a growth standpoint, it's probably idle for right now. What we have is we've got 2 analysts on offense, 2 analysts on defense, and then an analyst in special teams. And that's very doable right now. And those roles are so critical. Like you talk about those and the graduate assistants, the work that gets done behind the scenes. And
massive time saver, right? That's the huge thing for you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing too is through that analyst pool, you're growing your pool of potential assistants. You know, we took advantage
Which you
of
just
that.
did.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute, I'm sure. But those individuals do so much work behind the scenes, and now they can recruit as well. They can't go off campus, but they can recruit when guys are on campus and then on the telephone or Zoom or whatever. And so those are critical positions. And when you're on field staff, okay, are accountable coaches, however you want to refer to them, when they're out on the road, you got to think about December, January, and May, man, they're gone. And then during July, you got to give your staff some time off. And even in February, some time off because it's become a year round.
Mm-hmm.
It is year round. And so when the position coaches are gone, you have to have these support staff members and analysts and graduate assistants are in the building to continue to grow the relationship and keep a thumb on what the pulse of the team is or the pulse of each individual player.
And to your point, you want to make this a launching point. That gives those people invaluable experience so that when they do become
absolutely.
assistant coaches, they have, so to speak, recruited because they've been doing that already in the building, kind of like the training program to get out there.
I think about this a lot. I think that people in general are motivated by one or two ways, usually a combination of both. It's either financially, they're being well compensated, or their compensation is improving, or they feel like they're really growing, you know, and so we know that, and part of this contract was leaning toward that to help compensation. And then in house, it's always been our goal is to really grow people, you know, be clear with our roles and responsibilities. I think this is something every organization tries to, and we're a work in progress. By no means have we arrived, but we want to make sure that the people in our building are clear with their roles. We allow them to grow, and again, hopefully, we're preparing them for whatever's next.
Let's talk roster retention and then resupplying the roster. We go back, and I think of the spring that we had when players bolted.
Yeah.
And just like you could use any word you want. Bolted, we got gutted on defense. It seems to me as though you have done a 180 in that category in regard to keeping those, for the most part, you're never going to hit 100%, but keeping those that you wanted and then immediately filling the voids when those holes and opportunities arose. That's my takeaway. Would you give me what you thought this past off season has been for you in those two categories?
Yeah. So I think when you look back and that's why I'm always, when you talk about retention, it's trust and experience. Well, from the trust perspective, when we lost, I think 6 defensive starters between the bowl game in Arizona to spring practice in 22, I guess, when we lost those guys, is the trust was just now taking off, and we didn't have the finances available to be able to compete. And so now I think you fast forward, and again, that's why I'm always really quick to credit Ken Kendrick, who, man, what he's doing for the trust, but then just having the baseball stadium, which is, you know, he and his family have gone above and beyond to not only help his home state, but in his university, but really athletics in general. So very thankful for him. But the trust is now in a totally different spot here, winter, spring of 24 than it was winter, spring of 22. So a lot of credit to everyone that's involved, corporate sponsorships, donors, Kendrick family, Oliver Luck, Stephen Ford, all those people. And so we're in a much better position. And then now we've been able to put a game plan together about retention, you know, and I always talk to our assistants about, okay, what's the role of an assistant coach? Well, I think the main role is you support the mission and the vision of the head coach, but then it's about recruiting, whatever you're in charge of, whatever position you have. It's about developing that room, both as a man and as a player, and then it's retaining. And there's a lot that goes into retention. You know, it's the relationship piece, the experience piece, you know, are they growing? You know, are they getting better? You know, so that's what we talk about. And now we have some good kind of a 12-month year plan about how we go about the process of retention.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never going to be perfect. And I think you and I have talked about this a bunch. It used to be, man, every time we had somebody leave our program, I felt like it was a gut punch. It was personal referendum on something that wasn't going right. And now, not that it doesn't bother me when we lose a talented player. We lost a talented D lineman after the bowl game. Um, I still take that hard, but it's not. My immediate reaction is, rather than, oh man, like this stinks, my immediate reaction is, okay, well, we've got a hole that we need to go fill, or who that's already on our roster is developing where they can fill that role.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got a really good process for handling retention right now. And then when it comes back, is we feel like over the last 2 years, whether it was Matt Jansen before, now it's with Drew, is we've got a really good plan about how we attack the transfer portal. And not only from an evaluation, but how we recruit those guys, and how we go about building our roster. And it's not just December, early January. It's spring, summer. It's a continuing process.
Mm-hmm. What did Beanie Bishop's blossoming this season do for you in this current recruiting period?
Well, you always tell stories, right? I think that, we're in the storytelling business, not unlike, anybody else that's marketing.
Three guys.
Yeah,
we're storytellers.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Storytellers, you're telling your story. And for us, like, especially with the defensive backs and defensive recruits in general, what a great story.
Yeah. And
they can go check online, they can check Twitter, they can check Instagram, whatever they want, and they're going to see the same thing. Is Beanie was a nickel or a third corner at Minnesota. He came here, and through his work and then the help of our support staff and Shadon and our defensive scheme, and his production, is he left here as the 13th consensus All-American in West Virginia football history.
Amazing.
Now we say on three guys, he blowed up.
He blowed up.
Well, you might say that.
I mean, because your normal middle-aged white guys that are hip, right?
Yeah, you might say that in Kentucky too. He blowed up. By the way, he tapped me on the shoulder at the end of the TCU game. He was there. He went and watched Mountaineers play TCU. Beanie did.
Beanie is a great individual. And I always say this every time you bring him up. Not only was he really productive on the field, man, he really helped that room.
Yeah.
And showed him how to work, how he prepared, and that'd been a room that, man, it had been a struggle, and we're having this is the best winter our secondary's had, and it's not even close.
Good.
And even though Beanie's not here, he's a reason behind that. He's one of the reasons why.
You said that from the very beginning. Like right when he stepped on all your interview, he was high on the Brown Mention Index.
Yeah.
BMI.
BMI. Fall camp. Yeah.
BMI.
He's high on the BMI.
Just a very mature. He had a mature approach. And he's changed. Like, you learn, like every time you go through something and you do it, you learn. And, I think early on we were going through the portal. We were just trying to best available. Now we're trying to find the best fit, not only positionally, but also for the program that we're building here.
It makes sense given we've had a couple years of this, but in listening to you talk through that stuff now, is that the biggest change with the we always say on here, there's no rules. So I get where that would be extremely hard in your position to what can we do, what can't we do, what should we do, what shouldn't do. The process, you've mentioned process now a couple times. It seems like you're much more locked in on exactly how all of this works than you were when it started, which has obviously made a difference in filling those needs.
Yeah,
Fair?
Absolutely. And we've gone through. The rules are really gray. I'm not really sure.
We tend to say on this program there aren't any.
Don't worry about it.
We just gonna go.
It's like this.
I know you got to sign a compliance sheet, so we'll just say it. There's no rules. You don't have to say it. I'll say it. No rules.
I always said this, that my freshman basketball coach told me this, and this is one of those things that always sticks out to me, is he would always say, before we left the locker room, listen, early on, learn what the rules of the game are, and then play by them. Because every basketball game is officiated differently.
Yes.
And I will say this, too, is going back to Josh.
He got screwed in calls this year.
Oh, he's taken because he's new and he has an interim. Like, we have taken it on the chin officiating. If you look at the end of that Kansas State game on the road, that's gross. But anyway, I probably shouldn't say anything more about that because I'll probably get myself in trouble. But
Sparky over here yesterday was sitting next to me there during that game, and he was stunned when he saw official use improper language at Josh during the game.
Yeah, well.
In fact, during that moment, I was advocating for Josh to get a technical.
Yeah,
or a headbutt. Anyway,
it's probably on Raekwon's block that you can't have a better block.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Exactly
If I was last night, you take it to the basket, you throw it up, you're getting a foul.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, moving on.
Okay.
So I lost my train of thought. But going back to, like, in basketball, it's true, though. You learn because every game's officiated a little bit different, right? So you learn what the rules of the game are, and then you play by them. Well, that's kind of the way that I approach things in general is like, okay, let's learn what the rules of the game are. As soon as we know what the rules of the game are, let's go play by them. Well, the thing that's, let's take this deal where all of a sudden we can transfer more than once, which I realized we had a part in. Not kind we as an athlete.
Kind of a big part.
Yeah. kind of the main part.
So all of a sudden you have how you're planning your roster and decisions you make. Yep. If you think guys can only transfer one time, that's a big deal. Well, all of a sudden, right in the middle, that'd be like going in the basketball game. The first half, we're going to call every hand check. And then the second half of the game is you can, as long as there's no blood and there's no foul. Well, that's vastly different for how you're going to play. Well, that's what happened to us, right in the middle of the portal season. Oh, we're going to
second time transfers can leave.
Yeah. And so I just want to know what the rules are. And so there'll be some benefits to West Virginia. There'll be some things that they hurt us, but let's know what the rules are so we can go play by them. Yeah. And so that's something I struggle with. But we do have, from an evaluation process and then how we're dealing with our trust and all those things, I think we have good plans, good processes. We're always looking to make them better. But I feel good about how we've progressed.
Mm-hmm. Three guys before the game brought to us by Go-Mart. Right now they're throwing down a body slam of savings that you won't want to miss. From now until April 30, Go-Mart teams up with Slim Jim and C4 Energy for a knockout combo of bonus points and a chance to win a $500 Go-Mart gift card. All you got to do is stock up on those legendary Slim Jims so big they'll make your taste buds do a flying elbow drop and earn rewards points like a champion. Don't wait. This tag team throwdown won't last forever. Find more details. Get the Go-Mart app. Get the Go-Mart card. Go-Mart.com.
A lot of wrestling references there with a little Macho Man, right?
Yeah. A lot of wrestling stuff's going on. Mm-hmm. Big wrestling stuff that's going on. Three guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems. They're the folks that can take care of any business equipment need you have and provide you with remote monitoring of your networking and your IT. Neal, what we call it is a computer colonoscopy. They'll come in and check your complete network to see if there's any bumps, scratches, or anything like that. Keep your data safe. Like, for example, Neal doesn't want anyone going into the Mountaineer computer database and looking at all their recruits. You bring Comax in there. They put those things in there. It's all safe and sound. It's Comax Business Systems, also offering digital phone services from 1 line to 1,000 lines. It's Comax Business Systems. Visit them on comaxwv.com. So
I don't even know what I do with that. Like,
you just let him go when he does that, Neal. You just let it go, and then now we move on.
Well, we still got to do the boating thing a little bit later too.
Well, that's a little bit easier to address than a colonoscopy.
He's got a boat.
I think is what he's saying.
Okay, so something new I was thinking about this morning. You're going into a spring season where, like, you've got an identified quarterback that's won games, that's started games, that's proven for you. You got 2 running backs. Speaking of retention, I mean, like, we just kind of put it in passing. Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson are coming back. Like, when C.J. Donaldson 2 years ago had his game against Pitt, I remember walking out of Pitt Stadium going, they're going to come after him now. And then Jaheim, he's making plays. They're going to come after him. And you kept him. And you got 2 proven running backs. And you got a proven quarterback. And you got receivers that have made plays. This has got to be
a lot of offensive linemen.
And a lot of offensive linemen. This has got to be like, okay, so I would imagine that your protocol and what you're trying to do in spring is probably at a more advanced level than in past springs.
Well, the goal is to keep improving, right? And for us, I think it's about taking the next step, and backs are against the wall. Mine, our staff, the players, our backs were against the wall. And while it didn't go perfect, we made a big stride last year. And now it's about continuing that, and you talk about Garrett, I think because Garrett is getting all kinds of attention right now. Well, he didn't necessarily get that attention a year ago, even though he had success at the end of the year. He really didn't get that attention. And so now how does he do that? And the thing that he has to do and the challenge for him is for all the things that he did at a really high level, and I could go, he threw the deep ball well. We were extremely explosive. Man, he ad-libbed and like he created explosive runs. Like what we did in the run game, like he was a huge part of that, not only carrying it, but having the threat of him carrying it. And there were so many positives that he brought. And I'm just talking about tangible. I'm not talking about the intangible leadership and his competitiveness and things like that. But at the end of the day, he was a 53% passer, you know? And so how does he make the jump like a Bo Nix? Because Bo Nix was in the 50s early in his career, and then all of a sudden he's 73. No,
you're exactly right.
Yeah. So how does Garrett Green do that, right? Nico has made big strides, right? And so, I don't know when, but at some point this fall, like Nico's going to have to play and go win us games. And I think he continues to push, like he'll be able to win us games and not just help us be in games. He'll help us. He'll be a reason why we win a game. And then CJ's not real happy about how he played last year, and deservedly so. But he played better in the second half of the year, and he played injured. And I don't think our fan base really appreciates that. Like he played injured, got shoulder surgery. He's going to be back, and man, his body looks totally different when people see him for the first time in a uniform again. They're going to be like, "Oh, okay, I know what he's been doing," And so I think the whole thing is man, really pushing us to take the next step. The thing we talked about offensively, and we do. We have a lot of alignment coming back. We've got a lot of our skill guys. For me, it's about, okay, how do we push Jaheim White to not have the sophomore slump? How do we push him to be not just a really good player? How is he going to be the best back in our league, right? How does CJ build off some of the success he had year one and some of the success he has year two? Now he's fully healthy, all right? How does our O-line, Zach Frazier's gone, right? Okay, well, everybody says we're going to take a step back. How do they prove that our collective is going to be better? We got these young receivers. Like, how are they going to take the next step? Then defensively, we've got the most depth we've ever had, especially in the defensive backfield. Like, how are the new pieces that we brought in, how is that going to gel? Like, how do we continue? Because and the other thing, too, is like year two in both of our schemes, right? We tried to undersell this a little bit last year because we didn't want our opponents to know, but we made a complete 180 on offense, what we were doing. And then defensively, we go from a 4-man front to a 3-man front and change what we were doing defensively. So now we had a spring, a fall camp, a season. Now we're starting this process again where we return so many players and the scheme's not different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not only is the scheme not different, you're going to keep layering stuff on top of it.
Yes.
Like last year, you had to love that as an offensive coordinator guy with all the different things you were able to do. We talk on the show a lot. Steve Dunlap was part of our broadcast, sit 2 inches from. You don't have a bigger fan in the world than Steve Dunlap and what you were able to do creatively last year, giving the same look, running multiple plays off that same look. Sat there with tons of games with him, and he just kept saying, this is unbelievable what you're doing. Unbelievable. The defense has no idea what's coming here. So that's got to be a thrill for you, right? As those guys understand it and execute, you can keep layering things on top of that.
Yeah, and what we want to do, I appreciate Steve saying that. What we want to do offensively is make it really easy for our quarterback on our offensive line where we can get really good at the same thing over and over, but we present it in a bunch of different ways. And I think that's the key for us continue to move forward. And then defensively, I think that's where you're going to see, we were really vanilla last year. And the reason we were doing that is because, man, we wanted to really focus on the fundamentals of football, just getting lined up, being able to tackle, et cetera. Now, year two in the scheme, we can start mixing up where we can be a little bit more aggressive at times than we were a year ago. We can maybe play some different coverage looks that really help us out.
Yeah.
So what is the next iteration of this offense look like?
Well, I think we've got to be better at throwing the football.
Let me jump in and interrupt yourself.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things you talked about during last season was Garrett's fundamentals and feet placement and body hold and going from 53 to 73 for him. To me, it's kind of an oddity in that it's not the long ball. He's got that. It's the short and the intermediate. So how do you think he's done? What are you hearing that he's done this offseason?
And real quick, you used a basketball term with all. You said making layups, right? That's what you need. That's what you need more of.
So for him, like we knew these things. Like when you're in practice, it's no different than a lot of the people that are listening and that play golf, right? You can execute a shot on the range, but all of a sudden you got you got a few dollars on it, or if you're playing in a tournament, you know, like it's a little bit different when all of a sudden you got to execute that. You know, for Brad, I'm sure about 175 pitching wedge, right? You know, because he's strong, but
strong looking man.
No, but when you're sitting there and you're in the fairway and you got to execute, all right, a shot into the green, or you got to get up and down, you know, it's a little different when there's something on the line. Well, so last year with Garrett, as we went through the year, like I knew the problems, right? Or Sean Reagan or Tyler Allen, we knew what the issues were, but I didn't want him thinking, you know, so we tinker a little bit, but I wanted him to be a reactive player. But as soon as the bowl game was over, man, we really started this process, okay, of, hey, fundamentally, we've got to get better. And so he works with a guy named David Morse that's quarterback country. He's out of Mobile, and David has built a great, like, quarterback training business. And now he's got franchises in different places across the Southeast. And I think a lot of the guy. But Garrett's worked with him. And so what we've done is we've come up with a collective approach about understanding that we may have to go backwards to go forwards. But from a fundamental standpoint, you know, by the time we start fall camp, the plan is for him to be much, much improved. And credit Garrett, man, he's really worked, you know, and I put the onus on him. I'm like, this is your personal development. Like, I want to be part of it. Tyler needs to be part of it. But this is, like, you're grown. Like, this needs to be part of you,
sure.
You know, because this next year is going to determine, you know, like, I really think that he's going to be a professional football player. Like, I believe that with every ounce. Like, he's going to be a professional football player. Okay, but his ability to be more efficient in the pass game is going to determine kind of where and what. And so, in credit to him so far is, man, he's really working. And he's a very much work in process, but it's a 9-month. We started this thing right after the bowl game, and then the fall camp is being more efficient in quick game, being better on third down. And he's making strides. He's still got some work to do. We still got to put him in some pressure situations. But I'm really there's no reason why he can't make a big jump, even though he was one of our best players last year. There's no reason why he can't make the biggest jump on our team.
He was one of the best in the country. His numbers were staggering last year when you stack them up nationally. That wasn't just, I said this a bunch, it wasn't just a good season. He had a good national season compared to anybody you want to pick out in the country. The thing that had to strike you, though, all the physical stuff, you knew about that. You knew the ability to take off and pick up first downs on third down. His decision-making was incredible. And you talked a lot previous about his decision-making was critical, could not turn it over. Man, he didn't last year. So the mental side of what he brought was an unbelievable season for him as well, not just physical.
Well, and it's been a process, you know, and he's grown. And I think really if you go back, rewind into January of 23, from a mental standpoint, his mindset just changed, you know, and like, you never know when it's going to click. It clicked for him. And I think I've said this before publicly, is like, you know, he came in COVID, right? So you got 2 practices, and then that was technically his high school senior spring. And then played in the fall. We really thought of spring of 21. All right, here he split the reps, man. I think he's going to make a jump, and he wasn't ready. Fast forward spring of 22. You know, we didn't take a portal quarterback. You know, is he ready? We thought he may be ready. He just wasn't quite ready. And when he was ready, it was that Oklahoma game. Mm-hmm. You know, and really that's not exactly like in our scrimmages we do on Mondays. He started showing a lot of progress. And so going into that, I'm like, he's ready to play. He's ready to be a starter. You know, he's ready. If JT doesn't, like, he's ready. And then last spring, like, he just kind of fall camp, you know, he clearly had made the strides necessary to be the starting quarterback.
Did being the starter help him mentality-wise? He didn't have to just come in and try and make a bunch of plays. Do you think that settled him a little, or no?
I don't know if that had a really big factor in it. I just think that I don't think that he ever thought he wasn't going to be, you know, and so his mind works a little bit different. Like, he's been on your show, so like,
we're familiar with his work.
We don't have a confidence problem, right? and so he, you know, I don't think that necessarily. I think that he was really confident in his understanding of what to do, right? So I think the game had slowed down for him,
Okay.
and he really studied opposing defenses, and he felt really comfortable with what we were doing offensively.
But my God, he just didn't force many throws. There was that one headed towards the hospital we talked about it with on the show where it was kind of a heat check. He was rolling a little bit, tried to jam one in there. That, and I'm sure you have a couple others. That's about the only one you can remember where he just flat tried to force a throw. He just did not do it all season long.
Yeah.
That's hard, man.
He didn't. And what we tried to instill in him is there's no reason to force because just run. Like what's the best thing you do? Let's you got a quick release, but the best thing you do is run.
Yeah.
So let's not inhibit the best thing that you do.
Mm-hmm. You have an interesting relationship with him. I personally like it because, you cut him no slack. I mean, you coach him probably like you would coach your son.
Yeah.
And I think there's that respect. And he's one of these dudes, if I'm not mistaken, you would agree with this, that, there's the old thing like, I'd rather have to tell someone whoa than sick 'em. He's like all sick 'em. So you've had to bring him down, and now you're at that point where, okay, now we're coming back out there. But you talk about a classic West Virginia quarterback. He's tough. He's fearless. I mean, he was at the hunt and fishing show there last weekend. He fit right in. If you didn't know he was the quarterback, you thought he would be one of the guys in the booth.
He was
at the
over
hunt and
hitting up
fishing.
tables.
Yeah, he's out there.
He's a little bit of chameleon. He can he's got the wardrobe that he can fit in. He can do the hunting wardrobe.
Yes.
He can do the fraternity wardrobe. He's got
guy Philip Daniels. He can dress it up.
He can do the young professional. He's got the looks.
And to me, I mean, even in all this portal stuff, again, he just said, "No, man, I'm here. Get away from me. I'm good to go." I mean, I got a ton of respect for him.
So I think anytime we talk about him in this light, it's so important that we talk about his parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
His mom catching them passes when he was young.
His mom, who is tremendous. She drives. She lives in Georgia now, and she drives up here to all the games. And from a toughness standpoint, that the toughness comes from his mom. And, his dad, who I'm excited. I'm so excited for his dad. His dad just got a promotion. He's the bullpen coach for the Milwaukee Brewers. And how exciting is that?
Mm-hmm.
But Garrett's patience and his humility and just the way he competes, that comes from them. And so I think anytime you talk about him, you have to talk about his parents, because it takes us, we're in a Insta world, man. And if you don't have instant success, most people are hitting that eject button. And so he didn't have the instant success. It's taken time. And sometimes it does take time. Look at the NFL. Jordan Love, he was ready when he was ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can go back and we can look at several NFL quarterbacks that, man, they took the patient approach, and Aaron Rodgers did before him. That it just takes time sometimes. And I think, and so for him, he had the patience, and I think again that goes back to his parents. And I've known him since he was 15 years old. This isn't a relationship that just started. I truly love the kid. He's great with young kids. Dax loves him. And he's a competitor. He will flat out compete. We had a workout this morning, and we're doing shuttles. And if he doesn't win, he's pissed. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And so we're talking about on a Thursday in early March, and he's the same competing there as he is in a 2-minute drill. And he's a kid that's really hungry, and he wants to be coached. And I can challenge him. I can pat him on the back. And so I'm probably from just a coaching perspective, he's fun to coach. Now there's some things he does that I'm kind of and I've probably changed him as much as he's changed me, because I just let him play. And the things we're doing on offense, I'm real careful not to overcoach him. This is we were talking about a run game step earlier, and he's like, well, I can do it better this way. I'm like, well, show it to me. And yeah, his way's probably better, and maybe the fake's not quite as good, but it happens faster, and I'm looking for speed first and foremost.
5 years ago, would you have backed off on that, or you would have pushed
I would
it?
have been like, no, this is how we're going to do this. You know, and like so, and I see that, and so he, I think it's a great story, and it's a very West Virginian story,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the best part of his story hasn't been written. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think he becomes one of your case studies that you'll be able to use going forward as far as what patience leads to.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you'll be able to say, "Let me tell you about a kid that could have bolted for every reason. Hey, I'm out of here if I'm not getting my snaps, man. Like in basketball, not let me play my game, not getting my shots, not getting my shots. Storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling.
I've never seen a bad red shirt in my life. 40 plus years, I've never seen a kid get redshirted who might have not been crazy about being redshirted. At the end of the day, they always flourish in that extra year that they're here.
It helps.
It helps. And I'm just saying, kids that are patient, they get productivity at the end of it, although it's sometimes difficult to accept.
You also got to bust. I mean, the part that's hidden in there is how hard he's worked to get that done too.
100%.
He didn't just hang around here. He busted his busted his butt to get to where he is too.
Yeah, and I think too, like he comes back, like we win the bowl game, and I don't know, maybe a day or two later, can't remember if he texts or he calls me. He's like, "I didn't play very well." I'm like, accurate, you know, like accurate, and he's, and what I said is, and again, like I want him to take his self-development. I want him to take control of that. And so as we started this process working with Quarterback Country, and I was like, put together a highlight, low light of your throws and share it. And he had it done really quick and got a really good plan for how he's going to be better. And I'm excited to see what it's going to be. I'm excited to see what it's going to be. And the other thing is, you talk about somebody embracing the role. I'm sure there's been people that have embraced the role of starting quarterback at West Virginia.
He's a dude. No, you're on it. That's why I say he's perfect. He gets it. He understands it. But he's humble in that at the same time. He's aware of what it means and what it is, and he's doing the thing.
He's having joy playing.
Yes.
He's embraced the role, not run from it.
Yes.
Right?
He's enjoyed it. And here's the other thing. He's a great teammate. And he and Nico have worked really well together. Nico is going to make huge strides, and he's already made huge strides from how he prepares, how he works from a year-round perspective. Like they've been really good for each other. And Nico's story of being patient, you know, when we talk about some point in 24, he's going to play and he's going to go win us a game. And then when it's his show, he's going to be ready, and this patience is going to be a huge
It'll be a great story.
It's going to be a huge piece of his story as well.
Yeah. You mentioned that Beanie Bishop made a huge difference in your cornerback room just to teach those guys how to be, how to work, what's going on in your receiver room? I get the same sense something like that's going on there too.
We're taking a step for sure. Blau Marshall was a tremendous hire for us. You know, for most of the year, guys, we played 3 freshmen. You know, and then
unbelievable.
And Preston playing for his first. You know, then you have Hudson, Rodney Gallagher, Traylon Ray. Those guys are playing their first snaps of college football, and the production we have, they're only going to get better. You know, and so I'll tell you kind of something to, like Grayson. There's 2 guys in our receiver room that haven't been maybe as productive on the field as they would like, but really, man, push that room to be better. Grayson Malashevich from Spring Valley, and then C.J. Cole from right in Washington, PA. Those guys, and another one's Tyler Evans closely behind them. They have really pushed. You know, I always talk about leaders. Who are your leaders? Well, your hardest workers, your best people, or your best players. And Grayson and C.J., hardest workers, as good of people as we have, and they are making that room better. And through the direction and leadership of Bilal, is that room is, we're working at a pace that they've never worked before in that room. We've had talent in that room before. It just hasn't been as productive as maybe we can be moving forward.
Yeah. CJ and Grayson are both part of the 5th quarter. I had the chance to be in there when they did their interview thing before they went on their trip. And you're exactly right. Those guys are dudes.
Impressive.
We had 14 kids in there that day, and 14 kids, and I'm a really super hard critic, 14 kids made me go like, wow, this thing is really, really good. This is working, and all those kids are going to be incredibly successful.
You talk about
blow you out.
Yeah, fifth quarter program is that elite group, that Chambers, changing it's changing the trajectory for a lot of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Jaquay Hubbard. You know, you've been around our program.
Yep. By the way, he really wants to be on this show. He has sent feelers. I don't know if he has an agent or whatever, but we have received
multiple inquiries.
When can he come on? 3 guys. We're going to get him on.
And we've said ASAP.
Yeah,
right.
We'd love to have him.
Right?
He's a business guy, but you look at Jaquay Hubbard. Jaquay transfers in here. Look at the experiences Jaquay has had. Jaquay has set with the highest ranking people in UGGs. He has been to Germany. He's going to Paris. He's been, I could just keep going and on. Is the experiences that he's had, and then watch the transformation he's made from how he carries himself, how he speaks in public, those types of things. It's making a real difference. We appreciate you being a part of it too.
I always thought he was impressive last year as one of the guys that would talk to the group as you'd huddle up before you separated, which is not something you see every day from a guy that's not a starter or your best position player. I think that speaks to the leadership right there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, goes back to storytelling. Like, his story is so unique. He starts every game the year before in 22, and then comes back in 23, is a part-time starter.
Mm-hmm.
But when it was his time, he was ready. And so many people, something doesn't go the way they want them to go. They either eject or they blame, complain, defend, excuse, and they're not ready when it's their time. Well, he was ready. Mm-hmm. And what that did is the respect that they have, that they, meaning our team, has for Jaquay and how he handled that situation and the way he's come out of it is so immense. Is like, he has a powerful voice. When he speaks, they listen.
Mm-hmm. Getting toward the end here, last thing, give me some special teams kicking stuff. Oliver Straw has become a staple. He had surgery, didn't he? Was he supposed to have surgery?
He did. He'll be fine. He'll go through spring. And so I think what we've got to continue, we got to maintain what we're doing on punt. And our goal is we want to lead the country in fair catches. I think we had to make 4 tackles last year.
Wow,
how about that? And a lot of that.
There's a good stat.
Austin Brinkman is elite. Nobody in our program does their job better than what he does. And then Ollie, the ability the best thing I can tell our listeners is he's like a pitcher that's able to change speeds, and he can locate. And so from a punting perspective, he has the ability to kick it from sideline to sideline, and he can kick different types of balls. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to get turnovers and takeaways because of that. And so we got to maintain what we're doing on punt team. Our punt return team really affected the other team's punter this year, and so we got to continue to build on that. And then we got to get much better on kickoff. And a lot of that starts Mike Taylor. I always do this. I had a kicker named Mike Taylor at Troy. I always say this. Tony laughs. But Michael Hayes, for us, was extremely efficient in the field goal game, and in the PATs. He's got to get better at his kickoffs, distance and location. We're having to cover too many kicks on kickoffs, and we didn't do a good job on. So we're going to change our scheme. We're going to change what we're asking our guys to do. We've got to be much improved on that. And so, special teams, we've got some work to do. That's one of the things from a special teams efficiency. We weren't where we needed to be.
As you can see, the sun is out a lot of late, which means boating season fast approaching. Comax Business Systems, sometimes they'll put a printer onto one of the Lou Wendell. Did you know that? They'll put a printer.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, so you can take a look. So Lou Wendell Marine Sales, they sell the Avalon boats, and they're manufactured in the great state of Michigan, 100% made in the United States of America. And right now the selection at Lou Wendell Marine Sales is at its peak for the year. That means if you're in the market for a pontoon or a boat, get them now, because I don't know if you know this or not, you put an order in, it's 6 months away. 6 months later. You don't want that. You want to get down to Lou Wendell Marine Sales. If you want to go in person, St. Albans, tell them the 3 guys sent you. They got a 3 guys special pontoon right now. And when you have a
is that a tri-tune?
That's a tri-tune.
Yeah.
Now, Neal, the third tune puts that boat up a little bit high.
I'm a tri-tune owner.
You're
a boat guy. You know you got a tri-tune. You're a boat
float
guy.
on the water.
I'm familiar with the tri-tune.
You float.
I'm a boat guy until I have to park it. I can do the driving. I'm good. Open roads. You go to park, not so good.
You can drive it right in there, can't you? You don't hit the side.
Hey, it's a struggle.
It's a little wavy out there. I mean, there's a science to it. He's right. There's a science.
It's
like
you gotta
play the wind. You got to play the wave. You got to coast it in.
It's like this. In my own personal dock, nobody's around. Pretty good. Kind of like like that golf shot we were talking about. All of a sudden, you got to park to go to a restaurant. Not so good.
But don't take that down to Lakeside Griller. You don't want to park that in front of people looking at you. You stay away from that area.
Hey, I know my weaknesses.
Hey, go down there and get those peanut butter things. I want to give one to Neal. Send one over here. I want to see what these things, because this AJ in PA is raving about how these good. He's basically saying this is better.
Packaging's better for sure.
Oh yeah. See, these look like gourmet chocolate. All right, try one of these, Neal. Here.
Now,
AJ, and where are they
so
from?
So we're doing a podcast here that talking. I'm going to say probably the worst things you can eat and then go back on the radio or doing a podcast is chocolate and peanut butter.
Well, we do it a lot though. We're veterans at doing that on this show.
Dude, that's exceptional. Here's what you got.
That's very good. I'll second that.
I'll just tell you why. It's a velvety smooth chocolate with just a nice little amount of peanut butter in there. It gives you a nice smooth finish.
Not a thick peanut butter.
No, you're right. It's not overwhelming you with peanut butter. It's more chocolate than peanut butter. That's really good. They call it a melt-away.
That's very good. I will. Whoever sent these in, kudos.
Yeah, as AJ and PA. Also, I showed you that M&M bag earlier.
Take another one home. We got plenty.
Yeah, bring those to the. Hey, say, hey, those guys didn't realize it was your birthdays in February. There you go. Also, this gentleman here, John Lucas, gave me that 1 pound bag of M&Ms there. So John delivered those courtside last night, and he has been doing that for years to Bill Nevin, who's the PA announcer, basketball and football. He's a retired mine inspector and a huge Mountaineer fan.
He dropped those off. That was nice of him.
Great man, John Lucas. Thank you very much, sir, for those M&Ms.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, people. You get stuff sent to your office a lot.
We do. We do. Some are
interesting.
Yeah, that's a good word. Interesting.
Do you get I'm just wondering, because people do stuff canning wise. Do you get any mustards or honeys or jerkies or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Lori goes through them all pretty good. I tell her, depending on how the previous game went, be very careful.
Right.
Is
that white powder on that donut, or is that something
be
else?
very, very careful. Very, very careful. Hey, one thing I wanted to hit before we got out.
Oh, fantasy camp.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that.
So we're talking about the trust, and one thing that we're doing new this year through the Country Roads Trust is the fantasy camp.
Okay.
And it's a new opportunity to generate revenue for the trust, but it's also an experience.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do with the fantasy camp is we're bringing back some former Mountaineer greats. And so an opportunity for these guys to get around our current team, but also they're going to be around for the fantasy camp for both days. So you're talking, these aren't just Avon Colburn.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, is he the all-time
leading
rusher?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Bruce Irvin.
Heard of him. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, not
he's
bad.
Done all right for himself.
Yeah. Carl Joseph.
Ooh, he'll hit you.
And then the Major Harris coming back.
Major coming in.
Yeah, and we're going to have some more. And then our current players. We talked about Garrett Green, Nico. They're going to be part of it. And it's going to be a 2-day. And we're doing it around spring practice on purpose.
Neat.
And so we're going to give, and the theme this year is game day experience. So they're going to come in on a Friday. We're going to put them up the exact same hotel that our team stays at.
This is good. This is good.
So,
I like this.
Yeah, so meetings, just like they're going to play.
Gear. Get some gear.
Oh, yeah.
Swag.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Exclusive gear.
Special stuff, man.
It's exclusive gear. And then on Saturday, they're going to go just like our game day routine. Then they'll get access to practice on a day that it's not open to the media. So they're going to get access to the spring practice there. And then they're going to get out on the field and from an entire game day experience, from the uniform to running out of the tunnel to going and playing with the former Mountaineer greats.
So where do you go? CountryRoadsTrust.com to sign up?
Yeah, go right to Country Roads Trust. And this is the first year we're doing it. And it's something that a lot of the professional organizations do.
That's neat.
Basketball's has had success with it. And so Stephen and the Trust is they're taking the lead on this, and our guys are fired up because they get to coach now. They get, our guys get to go in reverse.
So you could add like maybe another former player. Now, Brad, what do you think for like a ball security station, maybe under Johnson? Like under can kind of
so we're
tuck the ball in.
Why do you have to do that to Under?
I mean,
one of the all-time greats. I don't know why you have to take a shot.
Well, I mean,
he fumbled once in his whole career.
And a good dude.
He's a great dude.
Like
he's a great dude.
And he looks like he can still play.
Yes.
He looks like he can still play. And so it's but yeah, and we want to bring people in. And I think this is something that regardless of age, is we're going to find something for you to do to participate, and it's about creating an experience. So I'm looking forward to it.
So obviously the money goes to the trust, and is there a limited number of spots, or is it open to as many people as you can?
No, we're going to limit it because we want it just like we want it to make the experience. So it's not a mass numbers deal. We want a limited number, and so they can get a lot of one-on-one attention, and it's about the experience, and it's something we'll continue to grow each and every year.
That's good.
But first weekend in April, excited about kicking that off.
Okay, first weekend in April. There you go, folks. All right, music's on. That means we got to leave because they've rented out the studio to a flea market. By the way, your boy wasn't here today. Hoppy.
Politics. They're in session.
Oh yeah, they're wrapping the thing up now. They're getting like for you, it'd be like bowl season. Probably. What do you think that would be like be kind of bowl season?
Is that where he is? I'm never quite sure where he is.
I tell you what, Neal, he's not here more than he's here. And then when he's here, he causes a lot of problems. So I'm glad you didn't have to deal with him. He is
a good contributor, so we let him slide back in when he's here. Who did he
attack that one time? Remember we brought a kid in, and he immediately launched in on him, and we were kind of like taken aback. You remember that?
No.
Yeah, I remember. I'm kind of like, whoa. Was it Nico? It was Nico.
Or was it Garrett?
Oh, yeah, it was Garrett.
It might have been Garrett.
Are you the starting quarterback? Like, first question. Are you the starting quarterback?
Garrett just batted him around, though. He wasn't unfazed.
Yeah, and then when Garrett came back in, they was looking for him like to taunt him even more. Doesn't lack confidence, as you said. All right, we're out. Special thanks to head coach Neal Brown for joining us. You know you have open invitation to come here whenever you'd like.
Appreciate it.
Anytime. We'll be over at the spring ball practices. Keep the weather the way it is. I really don't like cold spring ball. Just letting you know.
We'll be inside if it's too cold.
Yeah, just don't like that cold. All right, three guys before the game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By Go-Mart, go for good times. Go for Go-Mart. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. Right now, incredible selection of accessories. Like I'm talking, and I'm being serious here. Tractor trailer loads of pontoon and boating accessories that you might be interested in. Visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Special thanks to our producer, Austin Wright, and Zach Kralchek. We're out, back again sometime next week. Three guys before the game. See ya.